welcome to the Any Key Part 2 of the same episode. This is it, guys. We're here. This is a show where we talk about esports culture and news. I'm here joined with the awesome Navnitar
Hello.
and the triumph returned of our prodigal son, Alan Lafleur.
I was
Woo!
once lost in the desert.
And now you're found. Oh
Oh,
my
it's good to be
god.
back.
Oh my God, we've missed you, Alan. Oh my God, welcome back. So since it's been gone so long, Alan, where have you been? Tell us what's going on.
Um, I've been working with Alpha Draft actually,
Ooh,
and
is that the betting site or not betting?
not betting.
The
Do
the
not call it betting.
the
Fantasy.
fantasy
Um,
esports? Is that
yeah,
what we're calling?
fantasy
Okay, sorry.
esports. And unfortunately, their meeting times usually ram up right next to or either in during the show. So unfortunately, I've had to go do that. Well, fortunately, really, because it's a cool gig. But
What are you doing
like
there? What's your like role?
I'm I'm helping them with Dota. Creating salaries and stuff like that.
I thought you were a league guy. I didn't know you were.
I am a I'm an esports guy. I follow everything, which
Best
means
answer.
Ah,
I just don't have a life. But or esports is my life. It depends how you look at it.
I think that's the best way to put it. The sacrifice is real. Um, that's fantastic. I think that we're gonna get into the whole big esports life story of everyone
Yeah.
in a bit in a part. So we'll save that. Nav, what have you been up to?
We just wrapped up on the summit coverage, so that was fun. And we went live with video, so we have
Ooh,
interviews now.
Awesome.
ooh. Are you doing
So,
the interviews?
no, it was Matt. He was on site,
Oh,
so he did
Demers,
them.
Matt.
Yeah,
Demers.
Demers.
Oh, well then, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Is that? I guess you guys at the score start doing it more often, or is this just mainly for the school? I mean, for the summit.
I'm unsure of the direction, but it seems like it might be event based because it's like, that's where the players will be, right?
That makes sense.
So
Well, that's exciting. Is that incorporated into the app? If you know, I don't know if you know.
if it's in an article, which it usually is, it's in there.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. That's a great way to get a little bit of a starter on there. Um.
I'll let
So
you
yeah.
check in.
Ooh. Well, the thing is, my life is literally linked directly to ESChamp. So basically, when I talk about the critical update, essentially that is what I've been up to because anything that happens here is what I gotta go through. So I guess let's jump right into critical update then. In that case, so critical update is a section where we talk about what's going on in the ESChamp community. And give you guys in our community the update on our tournaments, events, and what we got going on. So I guess the best thing to start off with, I don't know if I should start off with new projects. No, let's start off with recaps. Let's do that. So this past weekend we did the Enthusiast Gaming Live Expo. Oh, actually, it's not really called Expo, but kind of like a gathering or convention, you call it. It's essentially all the grassroots organizers in Ontario, under one roof, running their individual tournaments. Um, it was exciting. It did better than a lot of people thought it would. I was pleased with it. There were a few things that I would have liked to seen done differently, but
Did
Dota
you
and
get
Star
water?
we did actually. We got water, but we didn't have Wi-Fi, which I don't.
Oh, that's
So
bad.
uh, I don't know if the trade-off was real. Like I don't know if it was the best trade-off to trade off water for Wi-Fi or for Wi-Fi. But we didn't have Wi-Fi, and the media room didn't have internet. So there was a couple of things where it's like, but
It's 2015, right?
yeah, you know what? The event seemed to have about approximately 1,700 people go through. I don't know if that was for the whole weekend or if that was just a Saturday, but approximately 1,700 people, which is not bad for a first event. It was, you know what though? It was pretty hype. Um, It was a really great time. I had a lot of fun. You know what? Actually, you know what? The most part it was hanging out with the ESChamp crew. I had a lot of fun, most fun with that. There were some a lot of ridiculous times to be had. StarCraft was won by Believe, which
Because
I,
Massa's not around
because
to
Masa's not
take it.
around. One of the biggest upsets in StarCraft, it was Gemini got wrecked really early. In my like, I don't know if I didn't think he was gonna win, but I didn't think he was gonna get wrecked so early into the brackets. He got lost to some of the locals in Toronto, which is unfortunate for him, I guess.
Who came second?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say BioIce. BioIce came second, and I think Norgret came third with and Samuel fourth.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then Dota, it was a up not upset, but we saw like the revision of the battle of Cafe Lu versus Jig, and Jig won our last cup, taking it pretty much from the losers bracket from Cafe Lu, and so we weren't sure what was going to happen, and this time. This time, Cafe Lu took it, so it's good to see like some rivalry that one team isn't sticking on top, in, at least in the local Dota scene. So that's exciting to see.
Is
Um,
Boreal competing in your tournaments?
you know what? No.
If they drove down, they could.
Yeah, you know what? If Boreal drove down, I think they may have competed in one of our online, but I don't think they came to the LAN. That actually reminds me, I need to extend an invite to them for our next event. Because I think they're a solid team. You know, I've seen them participate in Canada a bunch of times, so.
And LAN ETS.
And LAN ETS, yeah. So, definitely. What else happened with EGL? I guess my biggest qualm with EGL is the vendors. I think the vendors were a big mismatch when it
What were
came
they?
to. Uh,
LAN ETS had like MSI,
See there.
NVIDIA.
So okay. So that's the mismatch. So LAN ETS had MSI, Nvidia had like native
Corsair.
sponsors, like Corsair,
Yeah.
and if you get to like as a player, you get that opportunity to buy stuff from them, or you get the equipment and stuff. And I felt that there wasn't enough stuff to buy, or not enough like vendors with stuff that were related to the event. Like the if you really think about it, if it was a convention, their vendors made sense because there's a lot of like artsy and Etsy like stuff and craft stuff, and you're like, okay, that might be cute, but it was like a lot. It was basically like 20 tournaments under one roof. So naturally, you would think you would basically sell or have vendors who cater to that. So you'd have MSI or MSI was there, sorry. So Canada Computers or even lower tier, even Chairs for Gaming. Had Chairs
Hmm.
for Gaming or somebody who like targets that demographic. For the console players, you should have maybe had someone who sells arcade sticks. There's Canadian joysticks. They may have came or set up something like that. I think their targeting was just it was very broad targeting for their vendor space, and it was almost like a whoever can come, come. We have free space. We have space open. If you want this space, come. Instead of sort of selecting people, sort of saying, hey,
Right.
this is the category we're looking for. It was like a shotgun as opposed to like a fisherman's net or something, some analogy that doesn't sound silly. Um, that was my biggest qualm with it. Other than that, the overall event was solid. Uh, so the next thing but we did announce at EGL that and by we, ESChamp, will be running ExtravaLANza.
Woo.
So AMD has granted us permission and has partnered up with us to run their ExtravaLANza brand, and they've given us the ability to present it how we see fit. So that's really exciting to have a tier one sponsor like AMD uh, investing in our local scene and investing in us.
That's
Basically
awesome.
believing us. Yeah, it's something that it was a lot of work. It was a year's worth of work on the I guess the administrative team's work. So but we now have oh my gosh, people are even asking. So ExtravaLANza is coming up June 20th and 21st, and That's going to be in North York, at Hunter and Lucas, and it's going to have a lot of stuff. We've already got a lot of their sponsors already shored up. Asus, uh, Cooler Master. I can't remember all of them right off the top of my head. I probably should have pulled it up. Cooler Master, Asus, Canada Computers, uh, NCIX. So basically, a lot of the bigger sponsors around Canada, anyways. And if you go to ESChamp.com/AMD Gaming, you'll get a chance to take a look of what right now we have our temporary landing page. Oh, there they are: Sapphire, Gigabyte, Cooler Master, Asus, Logitech, Canada Computers, NCAX, OCZ, I guess Z or whichever, Power Color, and of course AMD. So those guys will all be there. If you went to the last ExtravaLANza, essentially these guys basically open up like Santa Claus and just throw as much of their stuff as possible at people. So even if you don't, it's free to go as a spectator. If you're a player, we'll be opening registration very shortly. Go to eschamp.com/AMD Gaming and sign up for the newsletter, the little news, the email notification, and you'll get information there. So I've taken up a lot of people's time, but let's get us started right now into the first set of topics. Let's start off with Canada. Canada is basically the section where we discuss something that's interesting happening in Canada and that's related to esports. So, Alan, I know you don't live in Canada, but this is something that I think you can definitely touch upon because
Yeah.
you have movie theaters in America, right? So
No.
I don't think
No,
you
they
guys
have Blockbuster.
I don't think you guys have
Don't
you
even
guys
have
don't
that anymore.
I don't think you guys don't have Cineplexes. I don't think.
No, we don't have Cineplexes. Most of ours are like AMC
Yeah, we have a few AMC's here.
Yeah.
and
So
some other stuff.
what's your is there a main dominant movie theater in the States?
Um,
Or is AMC the most dominant?
I would say AMC is probably the most dominant. Yeah.
Really? Oh man,
Or,
you're
or
so scarce here.
maybe I can't think of what the other one is in town. But for us where I live, our movie theaters are kind of local.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, independent.
Yeah, they're a really cool setup. So,
I haven't
uh,
seen a lot of those a lot.
uh, but yeah. So this would be kind of the equivalent on if
If an AMC.
AMC
Okay.
or something like that did
So
it.
so essentially, what's happening here is Cineplex, which is the major theater brand in Canada, is deciding to make some steps towards esports. They've taken a look and they're like, hey guys, this probably will make us money, and they're gonna
Well, they've
make
done
some
it in the
steps toward it.
past as well.
Have they? Have they
Yeah,
really? Like,
yeah.
what does that mean though? Like, what did they do in the past? I don't remember
I'm
Cineplex
pretty sure
specific.
it was the International that was at one of them. My friends were like, "We're going to theater to watch the International last
Oh no no
summer."
no! So it's okay. So that wasn't a Cineplex. That was an local organizer renting out an actual theater to do the international.
Ah,
That was on Mount Pleasant. Oh, I can't remember what the actual theater's name was, but essentially what that meant, or at least then, is organizers would go out and rent the theaters, and they themselves would have to the Region Theater. Thank you, our director Doc. The Region Theater to rent out the theater and and display the actual tournament. What I'm gathering here from the article is Cineplex is either going to organize it themselves
or
or
appoint someone to do it for them.
exactly. So and make some sort of either a national partnership or because it looks like it's a commitment to all their theaters. If
Well,
I
don't
gather.
forget,
That's what I got.
ESL is like doing stuff in their theaters, like the Counter-Strike
Yeah.
tournament later in August, and the
Wait,
All
what?
Work, All Play. Yeah.
They're doing the tournament. They're not doing the tournament in.
I mean, not tournament in there, like it'll be broadcasted there.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, the movie I think is they're supposed to be the first.
Like the break, yeah, sometime
The
in
break.
July, I believe.
Though I
Yeah.
don't think that's like I don't know if that's necessarily the best one. In my opinion, I don't think that's the best start. I think the international would have been their best, in my opinion, to to dip their toes in. But
Who knows? Maybe they'll do something before then. But in concrete, it's all work, all play, and Counter-Strike 1. I'm sure there's stuff that's also in the works, but it just hasn't been revealed yet.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that they made this idea, or they made the leap towards adding this. We went to, what was the movie that you saw the trailer before? Was it The Avengers? If you watched The
I
Avengers,
didn't see it, but it was the Avengers, yeah.
so it was if you watched The Avengers, you saw the trailer for All Work and All Play
Yeah.
before it. So I thought that was interesting because you didn't really hear that anywhere else. So obviously that was a Canadian only ad buy.
Yeah. By Cineplex only.
By Cineplex only.
Kenneget made a tweet sometime last week saying like, "Ooh, I'm so excited for Cineplex and stuff in the fall." And I was like, "Oh, are you coming here?" And he's like, "No, I'm just working on like the project for it." And I'm sharing this because it was over Twitter and it's public and it's out there. So this isn't a secret or anything.
Okay, I'm like, wow, Nav, you just spilled.
I just saw his tweet and I was like, "Oh wait, oh hey girl, you coming back home to Canada?"
Nope, he's abandoned us, never to come back again. And why would he? Gone far, far away. So that's an interesting thing. I'm open to see more theaters in the future take. Well, I guess really the Cineplex is the only thing. I don't think we. I don't know if. The
What this
smaller
really
films-
Empire
reminds
is the other one.
what it really reminds me of, you know, like how like the Metropolitan Opera and Fathom, I think it's Fathom Events or something like that, does their performances, you know, across movie theaters. I don't know if it goes up in Canada, but it's across the United States. And so you can go watch the Metropolitan Opera at any movie theater that does this. But so
isn't that
it
like
kinda,
a worse? Isn't that like a worse experience though? Like I don't know.
I don't know, maybe.
It's better than no
I haven't
experience
been.
though.
True, true. Good
I
point.
like opera, but I haven't been. But so there's that, and it also reminds me of kind of like, you know, going to watch an MMA fight at a bar or something like that. And
Yeah.
the thing here is that it's best to start doing this stuff now because nobody's charging you for it. Nobody's charging you for the, like, to have the license to you know,
Oh,
broadcast this.
that's
So
good.
do it now because you can make money off of it. If you wait until somebody starts charging you a license, then you may not.
Guess the jail's coming for you.
Think about it. It's like if you really think about it, it's like pretty much some cheap free content. If you're a movie
It really
theater,
is. Yeah.
if you're a movie theater, all you do is pop it in. Ain't nobody's coming to obviously come at you to license it.
I think the fight, you know, the Mayweather versus Pacquiao fight, which, you know, was pretty terrible. But to put it in a bar and it was like per seating.
Yeah, it was
But,
like $10 cover in Canada. For
yeah, but like
bars.
just for the bar to put it up was like, it was ridiculous amounts of money. So I mean, and that, I'm not saying that esports is headed towards that in terms of licensing, but licensing is probably coming soon, right?
Mhm.
Like as more bars and as more movie theaters start to do this, it's only a natural progression.
Well,
Of course, we have like 3 or 2 esports bars opening up, and they're going to want to be the ones showing it. But then here you have Cineplex, a bigger company, doing it as well. So then you have competition, and now it's like, do you license it out, or do the gamers choose like where they want to go see it?
I think that licensing is something that is going to come. I don't know in what form. Obviously, it's going to take someone who has a lot of gumption to basically say, look, you want to show our content in your bar, you got to pay me a little bit of something, something.
And what do you say to Cineplex?
Well, Cineplex is used to purchasing content, so
Mhm.
I don't see them being ones
They're not
to
gonna
bulk
care.
it. They're not gonna care. Like to them, no matter even if ESL was to put a number on, it'll be cheaper than any sort of multi-million-dollar movies they've purchased. So,
Do you think
it's-
there would be like an admission cost?
What, like
Yeah.
for a spectator? Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like Cineplex didn't become Cineplex because they started opening up their doors for free. They
But
were-
it's like this is different though because you can be at home watching this, or you could be like at that esports bar, which probably wouldn't even have a cover watching it. So then it's like
But
it almost makes it seem like why should I spend $10 on a ticket, $30 on food just to watch it in a theater when I could
isn't
watch it at home or at an esports bar with my friends for
isn't
way
it this,
less.
isn't it this, it's the same justification of why watching a movie at all when you could torrent it, or if you could just get it for free
But
some other
but
method.
with that, like you can't watch a movie in a bar when it's in
True.
theaters, right?
No, that's true.
So here it's like you can go to the bar with your friends
It's true, but
and you still
then
get the same experience, but you can even talk between matches.
one of the things that I've noticed this is with viewing experience, especially with esports related events. And this is actually at live events, and movie theaters seem to have an advantage in this case. Is that the actual viewing experience, like the sitting down experience, is actually pretty crappy. For most events that I've been to, because they're always these crappy little folding chairs, unless you go to the European events that are in huge, nice stadiums and stuff. But for the most part, events that I've been to, there are always these crappy little folding chairs, and the experience is always pretty terrible. I feel that movie theaters have the experience thing kind of down packed in a way. Like they've been giving viewing experiences for X amount of years, so they figure out how to make a good, a good show, or
Oh yeah.
a comfortable experience, right? Especially the VIP theaters. So it's one of those things where I think they might have that element on it. I don't know. Like, I personally like the bar experience, but all right. So unless anyone has any more items on that, I want to move to the next topic. Nope, 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 nope. So this is gonna be fun, funsies. Let's discuss this part. Nintendo World Championships is a thing. So very recently,
For the first
Nintendo.
time in like 25 years or something, though.
Absolutely. In 25 years, Nintendo has made an announcement that they will be bringing back the Nintendo Championship. Now, there's something weird about this because I myself should be old enough to know about the Nintendo Championships, but I don't remember the Nintendo
I don't
Championships.
remember them either.
So when I heard about the Nintendo Championships, I had to Google it and I had to look because I don't remember. But apparently it happened during my lifetime.
What was that video and arcade show on YTV?
It was called Video and Arcade.
Did it feature events?
Uh,
Or was it just whatever they did in studio?
It's whatever they did in the studio.
Okay.
I
That
was on
one,
that. I
the
actually was
one
on that
part of
show
the
3
video that you were.
times.
Really?
Yeah, I was on the show 3 times.
That's awesome. I'm going to go find the episodes.
I actually checked. I looked on their YouTube. They have some of the episodes archived, but they don't have any of my episodes, which makes me sad. But essentially, what we're looking at is Nintendo. I guess it's 25 years, so I'm 29, so I'd have been 4 years old when this came out. So that's probably why I don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't remember anything before 6.
So essentially, like I thought when I heard this, I thought this meant this was like the BlizzCon equivalency for Nintendo,
Right.
and that's not what it is.
No, actually, it should have had the tagline, please make us relevant, please. Please.
So, yeah, I don't know. Did you guys, any of you guys hear anything about this? Because what I gathered from it is that it's a showcase for their games, their newer games that are coming out.
Splatoon.
Splatoon and
Yeah, mostly
have-
Splatoon, right? Splatoon and Smash. I would like to see some Mario Kart.
Did any of you guys watch The Wizard?
No.
No one? Okay.
Maybe?
Wow. I
Huh.
feel like, and the funniest thing is, I feel that I should have been. I should, I could wish I could come back and say, well, I totally watched The Wizard, and everyone should have watched The Wizard, but I actually did not watch The Wizard, or if I did, I was too young to virtually remember. But I do recall there was a kid with a power glove, and that was the big thing about it. So, if
We all
anything,
our gloves.
if I was to guess correctly, and I don't know, like the audience can obviously correct me. Essentially, you will play through a myriad or a gauntlet of Nintendo games, kind of like the WCG,
Triathlon?
or like the WCG show that used to happen.
Oh God. Okay.
You remember that show,
Yeah.
Alan? I don't remember what it was called. The Ultimate Gamer.
Ultimate Gamer with in control.
That DDR thing will always be in my mind. I'll always remember in control DDRing. I think I have the GIF somewhere.
I think we linked it last week, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Oh my god. So you're probably gonna play through a myriad of Nintendo games. So Mario Kart and Splatoon will absolutely be a part of that. I'm gonna put that out there. Maybe an F-Zero. That'd be nice. I'm gonna assume they're gonna debut games during
Yeah.
it. Like you're then, because it's happening at E3.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's gonna be something like, oh, this game is being released. Now you have to play it to win, 1,000 Nintendo dollars. So Nintendo, I'm not really impressed with it. Unfortunately, I was what I thought it was. It wasn't, and it's not gonna be
It
that.
it could be interesting. I'll give it. I'll pay attention to it for
Will
sure.
you?
Like, yeah, why not? But like, I'm not. I don't have my hopes high. I I think Splatoon could end up being a really fun esport. I really do. Just totally off the wall esport. But
Well, we were talking about it last week or the week
Exactly. It was,
before, and you can't even like queue matches. You just have to be hopeful that you queue against like the other team.
oh geez.
So
so
it's very restrictive in that way of even making it an esport, unless they release content afterwards or something like that.
Well, these days you have to release content afterwards.
so
But yeah, go ahead.
we were just informed that in apparently in August they're gonna be patching for log beats. But I personally will believe it when I see it. Nintendo's notorious for not announcing they don't when they do patches and stuff like that, they don't tell you what's in those patches. So it
Right.
wouldn't
Well,
surprise me.
Nintendo's in this area of their life where they have to adapt or they're gonna die.
You
So
think so? You think
oh
Nintendo?
well,
But
okay, console wise, they have to adapt or they're gonna die.
oh,
They've lost third party support. They've lost a lot of their player bases to
I
Xbox
don't know.
and yes, they have, man. They
Really?
have absolutely no third party support at all right now.
I
Pretty
believe
much
that to be true.
every game coming out right now is Nintendo published, um, and
I feel like Nintendo
that's a
wants it that
bad
way
thing.
though. No, I feel like
Like
Nintendo likes it that way though. I feel like Nintendo
I don't
It's like
think
the
basically.
they
entry level platform that your parents will buy your 6-year-old child type of thing.
I don't know. I feel like a lot
uh,
of older people have it as like that access to Nintendo products because you can't get them anywhere else.
exactly, and that's the thing. Like for people that grew up with Nintendo characters, we want those. Like for me as a PC gamer, I'm more apt to buy to buy a Wii right now. Like
Are you?
because oh yeah, like because then I'd have access to all the stuff I grew up with, Mario, Zelda, all that stuff. And the
Mhm.
gameplay is so much different than a PC. But if you're not a PC gamer, and most gamers really aren't, I mean, PC's growing for sure, but most gamers are still on consoles.
Those
And
console peasants.
console peasants. But since most gamers are on consoles, that's like Xboxes and PlayStation 4s, you don't want to go out and buy another console just to play Mario and all that. I don't know why, but like that's just the way it tends to be. And so yeah, like Wii is definitely struggling because it doesn't have any third party support. Like you can't expect something that a game that spans multiple platforms like Xbox, PS4, and PC to come out on Nintendo. It just doesn't happen because their hardware is just so messed up. It takes way too much effort to port it, and so I think Nintendo's in this. We have to adapt or we're going to die, and maybe this is part of their adaptation.
Mhm.
I feel the exact opposite. I feel that Nintendo is more on the stage where it's they believe, and to the degree I feel they still have they know that their IPs are their gold mine. Everything else is secondary. Like as long as they know that they can pull out a Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, and it will make money, they'll be golden. And I believe that it was like 3 E3s ago when Nintendo stated, "We are a publisher first and a hardware manufacturer second." And to me, that statement was to say they make games and they make platforms for their games. And if anybody wants to jump on that platform, that's fine, but they got to play by Nintendo rules. And if you don't play by Nintendo's rules, you can get off our platform. And you know, that comes along where to them why they're so protective, right? Why they're super protective of their content and their IPs, and that's why this YouTube money embargo is so important, I would imagine, to them. That they're just basically strangling everything around them, but they don't care because they'll
But
make
as our wonderful director just posted, they're just now, for the first time in 2 years, pushing profits, like, you know, publishing profits this quarter. So, like, and that's only because Smash and MK and, you know, Mario Kart 8 came
yeah,
out.
Mortal Kombat. And that's fine. But that's the thing. Nintendo knew that because Nintendo first released the Wii U, and it has such an abysmal start. And that's because Nintendo wasn't expecting to move those units until they announced a Zelda or a Mario or a Smash Brothers. Like, they knew that. They knew that. They were under no delusions. They're like, when we release a Zelda, watch, when Zelda drops, they'll be like, oh, the monies, them printed monies, right? It's just gonna rain those rupees. It's ridiculous. And Nintendo's aware, like, they're not idiots. They know that when they release a system, it's happened with the Wii. When they released the Wii, people are like, oh my god, this dud. What if or the 3DS? When they released the 3DS, they were like, oh my god, what is this unit that you've released? No one is buying it. Then a game came out.
In console gaming circles, the Wii U is being compared to the GameCube. And that is probably the worst comparison you could ever receive as a console.
Really? I think the GameCube did. I don't know the numbers, but I feel like the GameCube was a solid unit.
It was a solid unit, yeah. When we came out, I was unsure at first, and I was never unsure of Nintendo ever in my life. Like, I switching from like the controller in my hand to like, oh, like the stick, right? I had like some worries about it, and then I quickly got over it and then bought one. But
GameCube was solid, but it didn't have the lineup. It didn't have the game lineup.
No, but when
Twilight Princess was really good though.
Yeah.
I feel like Nintendo knows, and then when they release it, so hopefully when we see this this Nintendo World Championship, which I will watch the first beginning parts, assuming nothing I really care about during E3 comes on. I don't know. Usually, sometimes these guys overlap whatever they're doing. I will watch it, and I will hopefully find it resonant of the Wizard. If not, then hopefully Nintendo will figure it out. So, moving on to the next item. Hopefully, maybe you can tap into this, Alan, because I'm going to be honest, I don't know 100% about it. But Heroes of the Storm Championship announced by Blizzard.
That actually went into open beta today.
Oh, look at that. It's just rain in Blizzard. Alan, do you actually know a bit about this? Before I just sort of read off the article?
I believe it's 5 regions, and with okay, so I think Korea and China have their own like professional leagues going on.
Korea and China have it out. China Professional League and OGN Professional League.
Yeah, and I don't know much about them. I don't think any Westerner really does. But there we go. Thank you. So, and it's all gonna, it's gonna culminate into BlizzCon, and there's gonna be a lot of money won for a game that's just now releasing. That's releasing in June.
Well, the StarCraft prize is like 100,000, and this is 500, so it's like it is still 100,000 per player, basically.
But it really, this just tells us
1.2 million. Wait, where did the rest of the money go?
That's like 500,000 will be at BlizzCon, and the other 1.2 is split throughout the tournaments and stuff.
Oh, like if you win to qualify, you get some money, and then
yeah,
that's okay. That's not terrible. That's not terrible at all.
World champion walks away with 200,000. So really, let's not talk prize pool. Let's not talk anything like that. Let's just talk about what Blizzard is doing with a game that is just now releasing. They're basically saying, all right, we're doing it. We're doing esports. This is what you guys want. We've made this to be a competitive game, despite what many people think. And I think it's going to be a very very successful tournament.
You really do?
Oh yeah, like I mean, you know, I like the game. I think the
I know
game's
you do.
great.
I know you do. That's why I knew you. I was hoping you could chime in on
Jester
this.
Jr.
Yeah. I'm Jester Junior. Jester would have probably been able to tell you a lot more about this, but he, I mean, it's going to be every region's going to be have some sort of representation. And the Americas actually will have North America, Latin America, Australia, Southeast Asia, all like in that one championship tournament. So that's pretty ridiculous. But I mean, if you're watching like numbers on Twitch, you'll already see that Heroes is overtaking Smite
Oh, rude.
in viewer numbers. And it's actually there are times when it's getting close to Dota.
That sounds blasphemous. I don't know about
But
that.
I don't know. Like I think it's gonna be a wonderful tournament. A lot of content.
Let's do a quick little overview. So my main thing with this is I think you might be right. I think that it might be a wonderful tournament. But one of the things I've noticed in Blizzard in the past, and you know what, it may have been because StarCraft 2 they'd already shipped off and half their team to go work on Heroes at the time, but WCS was handled very poorly. And I think everyone can agree that WCS, in terms of its early, like,
you know what, I would speak to that though. They didn't find the right person to handle it. It's like MLG had it for a bit, then Nasal had it, and now it's like it's with ESL, and it will be good for a long time coming.
Okay,
yeah,
but
ESL's done a good job with it.
If you think about how the format, so the format of WCS has changed a lot. So with this format that we're looking at right now, my question is, how many of these championships will overlap on other events or on top of themselves? Like, what was it? Was it last year with WCS where basically the championship and the grand finals were like weekend, like back-to-back weekends, which was just
no. What they did was they had a round of 16, but BlizzCon's only 2 days. So instead of like rushing all the games, they played out the round of 16.
No, it was something in the summer. There was something in the summer. It was
okay.
It was the North. I want to say the North American finals, and then the World finals were basically back-to-back weekends. So, I felt like that killed the hype. So I don't know if that was just scheduling or what happens here. I'm just concerned. My concern is Blizzard handling this system. Not necessarily the game. I think the game is probably solid in some regards without me being able to comment on the game alone. But it's Blizzard's ability to handle the Heroes of the Storm sort of competitively. If they give it to ESL, like I don't know if ESL is running the American Championship. We can make the assumption.
My guess is they will be.
Probably. They're already doing everything else.
I think it's a solid guess, but because they don't know, because right now it's the OGN Professional League. That's pretty much you can automatically guess that is OGN, and then China is the China Professional League, which is.
I imagine ESL will run Europe and North America.
Yeah, okay, so I think we could pretty much assume ESL will run those.
ESL's already running. They've for the past, I think, 6 months, have been doing the Heroes Professional, like Heroes Major League, which is actually a really cool league because you can like get promoted and relegated into it from like their Go for Heroes tournaments and stuff like that.
And I'm always a big fan of promotional regulation. I think promotional regulations is super important in esports, but it's interesting. I hope that it comes down to it that it's organized properly. We'll see.
Yeah.
I guess we can just keep an eye on 1.2 million. Nothing to scoff at. Not bad.
Good for its first year.
Good for a first year. Isn't that where Dota started when it first came out? When they first announced it, was it 1 million? It was 1 million.
It was 1.6.
There we go. So it's in line, right? And
I think it was 1.6.
And what is it? Heroes is just in beta now, or just coming out of beta? In beta.
So the thing that I'm going to be interested to see with Heroes of the Storm going forward is, I'm not expecting it this year, but if they did it, I'd be pleasantly surprised. Is every other, except for League hasn't done it, but Dota and and Smite have both used crowdfunding for their prize pools to tremendous success. I mean, the compendium just goes off at a different level. But even Smite, with its smaller player base, still ended up getting over like a ridiculous prize pool for their world championship through
Wasn't it
crowdfunding.
like 1 million or something?
It was. Let me see if I can find the exact number.
I don't know. Blizzard has never. I guess if they do it,
Like,
I feel like this
Well, don't
Blizzard's
forget,
always
like,
stayed away from
this
it.
is they've already done Hearthstone, they've already done StarCraft tournaments. They've learned a lot from those two themselves. So you can only assume that Heroes will be that much more smoother.
But will they? Do you think they'll do crowdfunding though?
No, never.
This is a different. Business model for them. They're open to do different things than they have in the past. So with a free to play model, you have to have a different mindset than you would have.
In-game purchases.
Yeah, in-game purchases. So throw up a Kalthos skin and have 50% of it go to the prize pool. Done. All of a sudden, we're rolling in money. Like, so
I would buy Kalthos skin, like easy peasy. I'd be like, yes, please, Kalthos now.
Or a mount.
Yes.
Put a mount up
seems
there.
super expensive.
Or throw a bundle up there, like that, and that's basically all the compendium is. The compendium is what is the equivalent of a game brochure. A game not brochure program, a game program with shiny hats included. Like that's basically what the compendium is.
Hats for everybody.
They're than those Nintendo books. The guide books. What are they called?
Nintendo Power.
Nintendo Power, yeah.
Hats for everybody. It's I'm what maybe Blizzard will come up with something innovative. I don't know.
I got the Smite prize pool ended up getting to over 3.1 million.
Wow.
That's not bad for a.
No, 2.6 million. I'm sorry.
Oh, killed the hype.
But that was still more than 1 million going to first. So like, that's pretty good for a game of that size. And that's what crowdfunding can do. So I don't know. I think the days of just throwing money from the companies into a prize pool and calling it a day, I think that's behind us. I think we have all these publishers have the tools to do crowdfunding.
Mm-hmm. I just looked at the compendium. It's sitting at 8.5.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh my goodness!
It still has 2 months.
I don't know. It's something about crowdfunding that I wonder. I wonder how inflated we'll go when it comes to our prize pools. When it comes to crowdfunding, I feel like it's such a hard way to measure the growth. Like or not even say the growth, but like how well a tournament will do year over year, because you're relying on this crowdfunding of people to donate, essentially. Well, not donate, but purchase.
It's not donating.
Into a
it's
tournament.
buying products.
Yeah.
It's buying products, and a portion of the products go to the tournament. It's a fantastic model. If you want to gauge growth, gauge it on viewership, not on prize pools.
Okay, fair enough. We'll leave it at that. It's time to move on to our feature topic, competitive edge. So here on Competitive Edge, this is a point where we discuss something that will hopefully give you the advantage in whatever it is that you're doing. All right, guys. So the topic is simple: making a career out of esports. How to make them monies. Them hashtag esports monies.
It's a trick question.
Wait, we need the Sir Scoots GIF here.
No, the Sir Scoots GIF. All right, so guys, and this is going to be, I kind of want you guys to participate, those of you in the chat. Unfortunately, if you're listening to this in the VOD format, maybe leave a comment and we'll get to that too. If you have so let's talk about making money in esports, or at least.
Well, firstly, all three of us are doing esports full time.
We are, all three of us, in different ways. Different methods, I would presume, in esports full time. So I guess let's do a quick overview of what we're currently doing in esports. I'll do myself. So I obviously run ESChamp. ESChamp is an entrepreneurial pursuit. So I took the entrepreneurial route where I created something. So I created my position. Um, and what we do is we run obviously tournaments and events, but as well as we do contracts regarding creating other people's tournaments and events, plus broadcasts. So production. We're a part production company. So Nav, explain what your esports thing is.
I work for the Score Esports, and I do social and digital marketing.
Alan?
I work with Esports Career, and we're building a network. And Esports Career originally was a job board. We're expanding that all the time. Right now, you can post resumes and stuff like that, and it's pretty wonderful. It's a great service for the industry. I'm also, like I said earlier, working with Alpha Draft, their fantasy esports, daily fantasy games. And I'm basically just their game manager for Dota and Smite for right now.
So you're sort of the freelance route, if you would say.
I would say I'm very much freelance. I started as a writer in the industry, and I still am a writer in the industry. Like I kind of still work with Elite Mag, with their magazine, but had to scale back there just because there's only so many hours in the day, and
So-
yeah.
You have the same hours in the day as Beyonce.
I think that we all have a very interesting path. We have different paths of where we come to work full time in esports. So I guess the first thing is, Alan, how did you first get started? I guess into esports. Let's go there.
My first kind of big gig was as a volunteer as a volunteer writer for North American Star League.
Oh, really? Wow.
In the first season, along with Jacqueline Geller and Derek Staley, and it was awesome. It was a great experience. From there, I kind of went the entrepreneurial route and started up a league in StarCraft called the Apprentice Star League. I want to bring that back one day because it was wonderful. But
Would you say Kappa Star League is the version 2.0 of that right now?
I don't know. Maybe. But and then started esports business, and then I started I started the League of Legends section for ESFI World.
I miss ESFI World.
Yeah, they were great. It was all volunteers too. That worked tirelessly. And then MobaFire scooped me up, and that was my first paying gig. And that probably came a year or two after I started in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
But I entered the industry without having any contacts whatsoever.
What about you, Nav? What about yourself?
Nav.
I'm curious to know your start in esports.
Okay, well, in my fourth year of undergrad, I did communication studies sociology. I was finally allowed to do projects that I wanted to do and not topics that my profs assigned. So I took the route of writing about video games at first, but then there was a performance studies class, and everyone was writing about a Quinnicera or how before you cross the stage you're a student, but when you cross the stage you're a graduate. And I'm like, these are such bullshit topics to me, and I don't want to write about them. So, but I was viewing StarCraft then, and I was like, this is a spectator medium. Can I write about this? So video gaming as a performative medium. And my prof was like, if you can make it work, go for it. And I made it work. So my piece, and I think there's one other piece, we're the only two at the time that wrote about video gaming as a performative medium from an academic standpoint. So that was that. And then I did nothing after that. And then because I didn't know how to involve myself, and I wasn't too much in a rush either, and I didn't even think I don't know, I just finished school and I was like, okay, now I'm doing my marketing diploma, which was my post grad, and then I went to WCS in 2013, the finals for season 3, and then it sparked like the oh my god, I want to do this thing in me, and then I
That
didn't
was your
know.
moment. That was WCS in 2013.
I guess
You're
because
so fresh, youngling.
well, my undergrad was my 4th year was 2012 to 2013, so
Oh.
from 2013 um, April to November, I did nothing. And then that's when the WCS thing happened in November. And then sometime in January, I was doing my marketing diploma. So I was like, I want to do an internship, but I don't know how to involve that with esports. But then I was like, I'm going to create my own position with Esports Canada and pitch it to them. But at the same time, MMA tweeted that Team Acer was looking for writers. So I applied and I got that gig. And then, like you said,
Did you just apply like really sent in a resume and just
okay, no, listen. When I apply for a position, I take it very seriously. I do a cover letter, a
oh,
resume, a sample. This is
oh.
very basic of a formula, but like I was told that a lot of people didn't do that. And if you didn't do that, you did not even get an interview. So there's that. There was 50 people that applied and only 8 of us got the position. So
50 people, that's it? Wow.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, Acer was like, I guess, riding a bit on Thorin's coattails at the time. So it was like,
Oh, okay.
okay, let's quickly grab people and like fill in again. And then that was my 2014 year, and all the while I was very realistic though. So I worked a 9 to 5 job. I finished my postgrad in marketing, and I knew that there's like maybe a 10% chance I would get a full-time gig and do something exciting with this, but I was realistic always. So,
I think that's a really interesting contract. That's interesting to actually hear. I'll tell my story and then we'll do a little bit of a comparison in a second. So my story of how I got into esports is not, unfortunately, it wasn't an easy path. I took probably the hardest path one could take. I went to school. Well, originally I wanted to be a player, a professional player.
Video arcade.
Yeah, I wanted to be a professional player, and that didn't work.
But Hello Kitty Island didn't have it.
No, it just wasn't featured in WCG, so
No.
I couldn't do that. And then I decided that since I couldn't be a player, I would try to create the platform for which other people can play tournaments and hopefully make it happen to be a thing in Canada. Because there wasn't anything in Canada. There wasn't even amateur leagues, or there wasn't anything that could just go anywhere. And I opened a LAN center. That was the thing. I opened a LAN center, and I ran that for about 4 years. And
then I came across it when it was gone.
yeah, you found the empty husk of my LAN center. I ran the LAN center for 4 years, and pretty much from there, after it, I decided I wanted to do tournaments. So I just volunteered a whole bunch of my time until eventually I decided to start my own organization and take it make it a full-time thing. But that was more or less, I just quit whatever job I was doing at the time, and I was like, all right, I'm going to make, come hell or high water, this will be full-time, or I will drown, sink or swim. So, and that was pretty much it. I gave myself an ultimatum, and I made that happen. So I think that's interesting. I see a lot of us have the volunteer. Would we agree that I guess volunteering is absolutely, at least I believe volunteering is absolutely crucial if you're trying to.
Well, it's the entry level thing. Like I was gonna make myself an intern, and that obviously would have meant free work, but it would result in experience.
One thing that people have to realize with this industry, and I wrote about this last week, is that the industry is very much a meritocracy. And you can't come into this and rest on your laurels of what you've done in other industries or what you've done in college or anything like that. All people care about is what you've done in esports and who you know in esports. That's really all people care about. And so if you prove that you're a hard worker in this industry, and which I think all 3 of us have, you'll make it. But if you don't, then you can't just scrape by. Like it just doesn't work.
I think
But
it's
with your schooling, you do bring along like knowledge. So I brought along my social media knowledge, which I want to
Yeah,
say I
I did
contributed
too.
to audience growth for Acer in that way.
I'm for me it was I didn't even really my schooling never even remotely helped me in esports, to be honest. For me personally, I don't even really talk about my schooling and when in terms of reference because originally I took computer engineering, and I quit that. I quit it to switch to business, and that was it. And that wasn't even like even for business, it was more like learning to do presentations because it was entrepreneurship. So it was about presenting and asking people for money. So I guess the presentation skills were the main thing I gained from that, but it wasn't anything like a degree
Mhm.
in anything special or magical. It was all about going down there and getting that nitty gritty, hands-on experience as much as possible. So I must have volunteered for conventions. I've like for about 2 years to 3 years, all I did was volunteer for conventions and put on their events and run their events for them.
Like
So
Anime North.
Anime North, Fan Expo, like all I did was volunteer, and you know what my best payment was food and transportation. I was lucky
And
if I got
water.
access, and sometimes it wasn't even water. You didn't even get that if you were fortunate. You just or got swag, got paid in swag, but you can't pay your bills in
Mouse
swag.
pads?
Mouse pads. No, I never got. It was just like,
There's a joke to that.
oh my god. So we actually have an audience question. So Partoof, probably from the Rifkin thing. What's the percentage of how much you like your job, and what gets you totally down and makes you want to quit sometimes? Ooh. So let's ask that to you, Alan. We'll start first.
Um, so in this industry, a lot of times you're gonna feel underappreciated. Whether that's because people don't acknowledge your work or you feel underpaid for your work. Um, so I don't know what percentage of the amount of time that is, but like when that does happen, you are just kind of like, screw this. I'm gonna go work in a steady industry where I don't actually care if people appreciate my work because I'll be making enough money to where I don't care. Um,
That
and
money will dry my tears.
yeah, like, I'll just dry my tears on $100 bills. It'll be fine. And but like the people that stay in this industry are the ones that's not the answer for them. And like I know I'm not the type of person that can work a 9 to 5 every day and be happy with it. I'm not. I like the unstableness of esports. I like that it's so fresh. I like that I'm on the ground floor of it. Really, I am. I mean, we all three of us are. We're on the ground floor. There's probably some guy that like worked with CGS back in the day, and they're like, "Nah," but no, we're on the ground floor. And so like it if that's not exciting to you as a business person, then esports is not for you. And like you have to be able to, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to and be able to. Like not everybody can follow the path that I did. Not everybody can follow the path you did, Draken, or you, Nav. Like some, especially with like student loans coming out of college these days, like you have to, it takes like specific circumstances to where you can have the time and the dedication to make it in esports. And if you don't fit that criteria, then I strongly suggest go find another career path because this is just going to bring heartache. But yeah,
What,
that's what I would say.
what about you, Nav? And that's some interesting points. Actually, I want to touch it when it comes back around to me. But Nav, what about you? Same
Well,
question.
first of all, both of you are doing an entrepreneurial venture on your own, whereas I'm employed by an employer. So I have that stability of where like things are already outlined for me. I have to do the things, right? Whereas you guys, you're like, Draken, you're seeking sponsors, you're trying to grab more tournament time, you're developing something. And same with you, Alan. You're like growing, like you said, it's growing. But it's like the growth that I feel, it's already set by those in charge making it. So
Well,
I
with the score, you're kind of in a startup type of environment.
kind of, yeah.
Because the score itself is just entry level into esports itself, right? You
Yeah.
do have that stability, but the question is, and I'm not saying that it is, but like if the score itself, for example, decides to not commit to that venture for another 2 years or something like that, because the score proper obviously has been around for a long time, so the concept of it being around longer is likely. But for other people who are not in that organization, format where they may be working for, IPL, for example, people thought IPL was going to be around for a while, and then this is like, oh, IGN has tons of money. My job is secure until whenever, and then IPL is just like, bye.
Well, so like I said, I was realistic in 2014 when I had my 9 to 5 job. I was also doing my marketing diploma at bits onto that because it overlapped. And then I was doing Acer as a passion project. I never wanted anything from that in terms of compensation or whatever. Like it was just like something to do that I wanted to be involved, and I did it. And it let me work on my writing, my video skills, because I made a few summary videos for events that I attended for Acer, and I got to develop my social skills. So for me, that was what I was gaining from that. And if that didn't work out, then I would have pivoted and quickly said, like, yeah, this industry is clearly not for me. I need to stop putting time into this. But the time I put into it paid off, which led to me now being able to do it full time.
I think that's actually a really exciting proposition in many many ways, because when you did it, you at least made it to yourself that you were going to you're working on the skill set.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people come into esports with the wrong mentality, where they're coming in it because they like video games and they want to play video game, or think they're going to be playing video games pretty much all day.
Your playing time goes completely
Yeah.
down.
Oh my god!
Never play
Oh
anything.
my god! I cannot tell you the last time I've touched a game. You know what? Actually, I can. The only time I ever touch a game is the day after an event, because the day after an event is like I am just too exhausted to do anything else. So I'm able to like boot up the PS3 or the Xbox or my PC for even a few minutes and turn on and get 15 minutes in a game before going back to sleep. So I think your playing time goes way down when you start working in esports. At least at least at a higher level, if you have like certain responsibilities, or if you're working at a
Right.
position that requires you to manage people or to
Hmm.
take on large projects on your own or whatever that might be.
Yeah,
Um,
I think people come into this and they're like, I'm gonna spend time with the pros.
eh,
I'm gonna play all day and call it work. And no, that's
There,
not how
like
this
when I
works.
went to Intel Extreme Masters Toronto, I went there to work. Like, yes, I socialized a bit with people, but ultimately I had a content plan of things I wanted to create, produce, and deliver. Whereas others had gone and did not deliver on like things that they did because like you saw them not even making any content or like doing work. So, um, yeah.
I think that's so. I guess my turn to answer that question. So, I personally, I love what I do, 100%. But there are a lot of low times for the roller coaster. I guess is the biggest part. So, if I was to say what really gets me down the most, there are two things that get me down. One of them is sometimes when you're doing the grind and seeing what other people are doing, and you're like, man, that person's either and I know I shouldn't actually ever get into this, but I do get this into my own head where it's like, oh, that person, is so much further ahead, or, um, for example, if some of people were working regular jobs, they're like, oh, I got a house and I got married and have like 10 kids. Okay, well, not 10 kids, but like,
That sounds like hell.
they got like their kids and their stuff. I was like, I'm still doing esports. And it's like, as much as esports is amazing. Sometimes it's not the 110 grand a year or 200 grand a year job that one might have wanted straight out of after college. So some of those things kind of get me down, but then again, sometimes I got to do some really cool things. I'll hang out with some really fun people, and I get to enjoy what I do. And I remember that, and that brings back the high, because there are some people who just absolutely loathe what they do, despite the fact of how much money they make. So, yeah, I
But
guess that's. Oh,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I would say it's. I guess it's the grass on the other side. The grass is green on the other side syndrome is probably the thing that I guess brings me to the low points.
See, and so my degree is in sport business, and a lot of my classmates went on to work for, sport organizations and stuff like, and organizations like that, and I mean that was on my radar also. And esports is not that different from
Mm-hmm.
traditional sports in that regard. Um, you know, People pay their dues volunteering in traditional sports pretty much just as much as they do in esports. The difference really is the entry level in esports tends to be writing and content creation, whereas in traditional sports it's selling tickets. Which, hey, that worked out perfectly for me because I'm a much better writer than I am a ticket seller. But it's not as lucrative. The entry level is not nearly as lucrative in esports as it could be in traditional sports.
Yeah, it's you know what, Facebook makes it worse. It's absolutely the worst thing. That's why why I took off a lot of things. I hide a lot of things on my Facebook because I don't want the updates. So because I like to put my head down and focus on what I'm doing. Um, let's talk about challenges of the biggest challenges that you faced. Alan, what was your biggest challenge when it came to making esports making it your thing? What was your biggest challenge?
I mean, probably money, right? Like that just seems like the most obvious thing is that eventually you leave yourself with an ultimatum. All right, so I've given my time, my soul, everything to this, and I'm not making enough to pay student loans. Then you have to start really figuring out, all right, where is this for me? Is this, and I mean, probably everybody that's worked in this industry, unless they were incredibly fortunate, has gone through that ultimatum.
The questions.
So yeah, like, all right, I got to make this work in the next 3 months, or we're done.
I think you gave yourself a 3 month limit. I give myself half a year from.
Mine was actually probably more like a year, but I
Nav,
really want to work 9 to 5.
Nav, what was your
Well,
biggest challenge?
you guys had your timeline. So, Alan, you said for like 2 years you're doing volunteer stuff, and then you're doing the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. For me, it was 1 year of just like the volunteer type of job. I think the biggest challenge might have been like maybe figuring out content at times, and that could be like, do we want to cover this event if our players are in it or if our players are not in it? But then it's like, but I'm not writing enough content now. So then how do I find other outlets? And that's when I started reaching out into doing the Canadian scene for Acer. And I did ESChamp stuff. But that was very minimal still because there's only so many events that are. And then I feel like at some point direction was a bit lost. I'm unsure if it was refound, but that made me like think like, do I need to continuously put time into this if it's not developing in this way, or should I be offering my writing services to like a city blog and writing about how to do social media for like nonprofit organizations, which is actually a blog I did do because I felt like I wasn't writing enough.
So,
Yeah.
so
As a fellow writer, I've been there. Yeah.
So, what would you say with was the challenge sort of finding direction, or would you say the challenge was like?
I would say there was like we were given freedom, but a little too much freedom, and a frontier that's kind of still being explored. Like, how do you curate content? How do you figure out what you want to write as an outlet overall? And then it's like you go with that ongoingly. But we never really found a focus, I'd say.
Like,
But again, I don't know if they've found a focus now.
and this is so. This may not have been so much the case with Acer back then, But like
Mhm.
nowadays, general news and stuff like that, it just, and there's no other word I can come up with to really explain this, but it's just so masturbatory. Like everything, everybody's doing the same exact thing, and
Mhm.
they're
Well,
expecting.
that's like in a lot of industries. A lot of people are all doing the same thing. It's super hard to get out of that cycle, isn't it?
It is, but you can't expect to grow something when you're doing the same exact thing as your competitor that has a lot bigger following. Like that's just unrealistic expectations. And I know that the website for the magazine I was working with, like everything was the same that
Mhm.
Ghost Two Gamers and the score was doing, and honestly, the writers, we didn't have the time or probably the ambition either to try and figure out, all right, how are we going to actually pull in readers? How are we going to get readers from Go To Gamers or the Score? And the Score is different. You're an app, so like that's your medium.
Mhm.
But like Ghost of Gamers or Daily Dot or somebody like that. And Daily Dot is like they don't really just post news. They kind of they if they can't get a quote, it seems like it doesn't really go up. Or if it does go up, it's going to be an editorial about the news. And that's kind of how they differentiate it. But yeah, it's just, and that's the biggest problem with like media right now in esports.
Yeah.
Is that everything just tends to be the same.
Okay,
Well, it's like, yeah, how do you differentiate? You do feature pieces and things like that. So, um,
which is
when you have
interesting.
that, that adds to it.
That's interesting. That was one thing I would give as advice to people if they were in the industry is find a way to differentiate themselves.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
think that's something that's really, really important is finding a way to differentiate yourself. For myself, for my biggest challenge in doing this full time was consistent, being consistent and being disciplined.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was the hardest thing because um, I had such an improper, I don't want to say improper, but unorthodox sort of work pattern. I never had someone to sort of sit over me and say, "Oh, you need to get this done."
Hmm.
I'm very much of a free spirit and very much like a, leaf on the wind kind of thing.
Right.
So I realized at some point that if I really genuinely wanted this to be real, I had to let every moment had to count. I had to be focused, I had to be dedicated, I had to give it my all, or because my first time I sort of, I don't say not quit, but the first time I kind of not or I didn't go or when my LAN center was closed or whatever it was, is at the time I was like, did I really give it my all? I asked myself, like, did I give it 100%, or did I take advantage of all the moments in the day or any of those things? And um I didn't want to have that be, for me to question whether I gave it all. So I was like, I need to figure out how to be more disciplined, or how to, get up at 5 a.m., which is what I do now, and get as much work out of the day as possible. Hustle, I guess, is the best word for it. I had to learn how to hustle, and get as much esports hours out of a day. So, all right.
So,
So,
what's our? I think we should all give like one
yeah,
final
let's do
piece
it.
of advice. What
Advice.
is the
Let's do it.
takeaway from this conversation? I guess I'll start.
Yes, since you suggested
uh,
it.
I can only say that you need to be realistic, firstly, and then secondly, do a body of work. Like if you keep being consistent, um, you'll see like yourself improving. You'll build upon like things that you were like struggling with, and then that will only make you that much better at what you want to do. And I don't mean that just exclusively to esports, but just anything in general. Do a body of work.
Yep. Always be learning.
Always be
Um,
learning. That's a good one. I like that.
for me, it's just persevere. Like you're gonna come up against roadblocks. That's just gonna be the way it happens, and you're only gonna make it if you put your head down and just keep going. and don't listen to the haters.
Them haters.
I can't really make that work anymore.
The
But
naysayers.
yeah. So just do what you want to do. Don't listen to anybody. If this is what you really want, it's gonna happen. But if you doubt yourself, and if you listen to people that are naysayers, it's not gonna happen.
Well,
You are your own limiting factor.
Yep.
Mine's going to be a very simple, short and sweet. I'm not really much of a motivator. I'm more like a demotivator in many regards. You know what this is? I have a mantra, and I say to everybody, whoever comes up and complains or anything, it's like, girl, get it together.
Together.
Girl, get it together. And essentially what this means, what that means is, like, stop looking at the path and looking for an easy way or a shortcut, or, you know, for everything to fall into your lap, or for it all to work out for you, because the world doesn't owe you a damn thing. I just want to put that straight up. Esports doesn't owe you anything. I don't owe you nothing. No organization owes you anything. It's all about what you can produce for other people in many regards. Like, what can you do? So don't look for the path to open up for you. Stop looking for the easy way, waiting for someone to do it for you. Just figure it out, put your head down, and get it done. That's it. Just straight up. And that would be my advice. So,
One other thing I want to add is that since you're going to be working at home, more than likely, you have to be disciplined. It is 100% vital. And so just figure out how best you work, and find your most productive way of getting things done.
I like that one. That's a good one. Finding your way of getting things done is definitely such an important thing. I find, like, I move from coffee shops to coffee shops sometimes to get a change of scenery, so I'm not always looking at the same wall every day.
Yeah.
Starbucks.
I did the same thing.
Sometimes that's what you need. So let's do the wrap up. Let's do let's move on to the ending final thoughts, guys. So in the final thoughts, this is a part where we do an overview and our last thoughts. So Nav, let's start with you. Final thoughts on Cineplex getting on board with esports.
I'm excited to see how that will happen with the opening of the esports bars, and Hunter and Lucas if they start doing events. It'll be interesting to see how 3 different mediums put on these events and who draws in the crowd.
Good point. Alan, final thoughts on Cineplex getting on board with esports?
Do it while you can. This is the best time to do it. So I'm glad they are. It'll be interesting to see how, I know, like, Barcraft United is getting back up and going. And so it'll be interesting to see how all the bars and the cinemas and all that end up competing with each other and who wins.
Ooh, I never really thought about it, but yes, they're all sort of competing for the same audience.
Mm-hmm.
Pub stomps and the thing.
I would say the cinema is probably competing for, like, the 15 to 20-year-olds.
Yes.
Yeah, your parents will be more willing to let you go to the theater versus,
Right.
Hi, Mom, I'm going to the esports bar. Did you just say bar?
I would say my final thoughts on this is Cineplex, please keep doing the good. They've worked on the experience. That's where their advantage is, the sit-in experience. I think if they focus in there, they shouldn't have any problems. But number one, they need to get on board with an esports organization. I don't think they should do it themselves. That's my final thought.
I think they're working with ESL.
I mean, like, to organize actual, like.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah,
the regional
one. Yeah.
The regional stuff, like, to get the community there. Like, ESL will definitely be there to guide them, but ESL isn't gonna go do any legwork for them, right? I don't think so.
What kind of gets tweet?
Maybe. All right. So, final thoughts on Nintendo World Championship, Nav.
Let's see how Splatoon does.
Splatoon.
Will it bring it back for Nintendo?
We'll find out. Alan, final thoughts on Nintendo World Championship.
I think this might be just a ploy for G4 TV to come back and do Ultimate Gamer again.
Oh Jesus!
That's my hope at least.
I'm actually wearing one of their shirts too, or their
I think it was
jackets.
G4 TV, wasn't it?
It might be. I can't even
Or it
remember.
may have been Tech TV, which
It
was
was Tech TV. It was Tech TV. It was Tech TV.
okay, which
Oh,
is G4 TV or was G. I don't know. Anyway,
practically the same thing. Final thoughts on Nintendo World Championship. I think it will be a gimmick. It will probably disappear for another 25 years after this year, and all's well to ends well, in my opinion. But Splatoon will be fun. I will admit, Splatoon will be fun to watch. Final thoughts, Heroes of the Storm Championship. Alan.
I for one welcome our new heroes, overlords.
Terrible. Oh, terrible. Oh my
I'm
God.
excited to see how it will not compete, but yes, compete for the other Blizzard titles and their tournament time and organization. Because if they're using ESL for all three of them, we have to make sure there's no overlap, first of all, and then that you can run all three all at once if needed be as well. Like the manpower for BlizzCon will be like doubled probably.
And I bet there's an Overwatch show match also.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. My final thoughts on Heroes of the Storm. I'm still not a big fan of the game in terms of spectator value.
Have you even played it?
I uninstalled it, man. I told you, I got it in alpha and I played it for a while and I, got leveled up Arthas to the level I wanted him to, and then I stopped. I was like, all right, well, that was fun. Um, you know, from a spectator point of view, I still question it, but I do think I like the direction that Blizzard. I like all my personal hate aside. I do like the presentation that Blizzard has taken with this product. I think that the presentation is good. It's the execution that scares me.
Can, can I get a quick comparison of how you feel this is a
Sure.
spectator game compared to like League?
You mean how do I feel it is in
Like,
comparison? Do I
yeah,
feel?
like, do you feel like League is leaps and bounds better than HOTS as a spectator game?
Okay, leaps and bounds in terms of mechanics? No. So I don't think that there's any one particular mechanic or thing that makes it accessible. It's the excitement. It's the hype factor. Is that I personally is how I sort of weigh it on. I think that Heroes is clean. I think it's easy. I want to say it is an easy game to get into. Like if you're to watch it like from the first time, I probably think it's a lot easier than League of Legends.
You
To
trying to tell me go ham on the core is not
No,
it's not hype.
no, absolutely not. And that's what I think is that if you should summarize my thoughts up is that I think that Heroes doesn't have the hype factor. It's a very it's consistent, but it's a low consistency. It gets from start to finish in a low consistent way with the lack of upsets and the lack of like it's there, but they're hardly ever groundbreaking. They're hardly ever it's the carry factor is missing, and I think that's something that a MOBA really takes advantage of. I think that the carry factor, the hero factor, because the hero factor I think puts the audience in the fact like people love a good carry because they're like, oh man, that guy's a hero, and I think we have that superheroism come out in terms of the audience putting them in that place. So that's my
Damsels in distress.
yeah, the damsel in distress thing, that we I think we identify with those kind of things. Like we see ourselves in the player who is the carry, and we're like, we want to be the hero. We see them as the hero because they're the ones that's either winning or saving or turning the game's tide, and that can be a very exciting feeling to resonate with when you're watching.
Yeah.
What
So,
I propose for a topic in a later show, one that I'll actually be able to come on. But I propose that we talk about what makes a star in esports games, and
okay.
because I think what you're talking about right now is like okay with League of Legends, I think people only associate that carry role, because well one they're called an AD carry or AP carry or something like that, but like there's carries in Heroes of the Storm, but they're just not as obvious.
That's
And,
a problem, though. That's the
you're
thing.
right. It is
That's a
like
problem. Sure, there are carries. I'm sure it is, but like it gets lost in the shuffle. And I think that like because it's very team oriented, and that to Blizzard's thing, they did it because they wanted everyone to feel like they're contributing, and no one to feel like they've hurt the team, and kudos to them on that. But we will have a topic like that, and we'll go into that a little bit deeper. I think that you and I will have a good discussion, or I think we'll all have a good discussion on what that might mean, what it is to be a hero, and what it is to make a good, or even a great spectator esport, or at least in the MOBA genre, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I'm right now I'm fighting back their strain from talking about it because I just want to get into it because we're at final thoughts, so we won't kill it up. Final thoughts, even though we did have a bit of like a summary, but final thoughts on making a career out of esports. Nav.
Mine would be realistic, do it, body of work.
All right, Alan. Final thoughts, make a career out of esports.
Just keep your head down.
Oh, keep your head
Just
down.
go.
All right, and for me, my final thoughts: girl, get it together.
Girl, get it together.
Girl, get it together. don't. The world doesn't owe you a damn thing. Get it together. So those are our advices on making creative esports, guys. This is the Yannicky. So, Alan, where can they find you on the interwebs?
Twitter at LaFleurAllen. And esports career, esports business the development is happening. We're getting closer.
Oh snap! By the way, I've actually filled 2 positions on esportscareer.org.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice. I want to talk to you later about that.
Okay.
Go play contests on Alpha Draft. We have Smite, we have League of Legends, we have Dota 2, and we have Counter-Strike now.
Game.
And just come lose all your money, please.
Put in the Scoots GIF again.
That's where you can find me.
Okay. All right. Now, where can they find you on the interwebs?
At Navneater, which is NavneR on Twitter. And then my Twitter has my site link, but that's also navnear.com. And everything is just there as an aggregate.
Oh, that's convenient. You can find me on Twitter, Draconis. But really, I want you to find me on Snapchat. I'm starting to use it again. I'm falling in love with it. So find me on Snapchat, Draconis. Snip shoot me. So is that a cat?
It is a cat.
Are you feeding it stuff?
Nope. It's trying to steal my fish, though.
Follow me on Twitter. And then Snapchat and Instagram. All of it's Draconis. But you can follow ESChamp on all those things too. Twitter, but not Snapchat. So Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, all ESChamp. And Instagram, which is ESChamp TV, because Eric Champ all our Instagram name. So guys, thank you very much for watching Yannicky. We've been your host. Make sure you spay and neuter your cats and dogs, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Bob. Bye.